My fiancée said she had a girls' night. So why was she at a romantic dinner with another man? I walked up to their table, smiled, and said, I don't see your friends, but I do see a lying fiancé. I'm a 34-year-old guy from Chicago, and for the past 5 years, I've been in a relationship with my fiancée, Sarah. We met through mutual friends at a Cubs game, bonding over our shared love for baseball and deep dish pizza. Our relationship seemed solid, and we were planning our future together. A few weeks ago, Sarah mentioned she was planning a girls' night out with her friends. This wasn't unusual. She often had these outings, and I trusted her completely. That evening, I decided to grab a drink at a local bar with my buddy, Mike. As we were chatting, I noticed a familiar figure through the window at the restaurant across the street. It was Sarah, but she wasn't with her girlfriends. She was sitting at a dimly lit table, laughing and holding hands with a man I'd never seen before. My heart sank. I felt a mix of confusion, anger, and betrayal. I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I told Mike what I saw, and he advised me to stay calm and not jump to conclusions. But I needed answers. I walked across the street, my mind racing with thoughts. As I approached their table, Sarah's eyes widened in shock. The man looked puzzled, probably wondering who I was. With a forced smile, I said, I don't see your friends, but I do see a lying fiancé. Sarah stammered, trying to come up with an explanation, but I wasn't in the mood to hear excuses. I turned and walked out, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. That night, Sarah came home and tried to explain. She claimed he was just a friend from work, and they had been working on a project together. But the intimate setting and their body language told a different story. I asked her if anything had been going on between them, and after a long pause, she admitted they had been seeing each other for a few weeks. I was devastated. How could she betray our trust and the life we had built together? She apologized profusely, saying it was a mistake and that she wanted to work things out. But the damage was done. Over the next few days, I took some time to reflect. I spoke with friends and family, seeking their advice. Some suggested giving her another chance, while others believed I deserved better. In the end, I realized that trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. I couldn't see a future with someone who had been unfaithful. I called off the engagement and asked her to move out. It's been a challenging time, but I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. Sharing my story here has been therapeutic, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to read it. To anyone going through something similar, remember to prioritize your well-being and never settle for less than you deserve. After Sarah moved out, the apartment felt empty. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Her stuff was gone, but I kept finding little reminders of her everywhere. A hair tie under the couch. Her favorite mug in the back of the cabinet. Max, our golden retriever, kept going to the door every evening like he was waiting for her to come home. It tore me up. I started keeping to myself more. Mike would check in now and then, trying to get me out of the house, but I wasn't ready to be around people. I kept thinking about that night. The look on her face when I showed up at that restaurant. The way she didn't even seem surprised, more like scared she got caught. And that guy, he was just sitting there, not saying a word, like he didn't even care. A week later, Mike calls me and says, "You're not gonna believe this. I saw Sarah. With him. Again. They were at that same damn restaurant." That hit me hard. She hadn't even waited. No pretending. No hiding. Just moved on like I didn't exist. That was the first time I felt actual rage. Not sadness. Not confusion. Just pure, hot anger. But it didn't stop there. A few days later, I get a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a woman named Jenna. She said she needed to talk to me about Sarah. I was suspicious, but I called her anyway. Turns out, Jenna was the guy's wife. Or soon-to-be ex-wife. She told me she found out about Sarah from a credit card statement, fancy dinners, hotel charges, stuff that didn't make sense. When she confronted him, he admitted everything. Said it just happened, that Sarah made him feel alive again. I could barely hold the phone. It was like being punched in the chest all over again. Jenna and I talked for a long time, swapping timelines, comparing stories. It became clear they had been seeing each other for months, not weeks like Sarah told me. While I was planning our engagement party, she was sneaking off during work trips to meet him in hotel rooms. The more Jenna told me, the more disgusted I felt. Not just with Sarah, but with myself, for not seeing it. But that's not even the worst part. A couple days later, Sarah showed up at my apartment. I didn't let her in at first, just stood in the doorway, blocking her. She looked rough. No makeup, red eyes, hair tied back like she hadn't slept in days. She said she missed me, that she made a mistake, that the other guy, his name was Andrew, apparently, turned out to be not who she thought he was. She said he was controlling, jealous, and that she left him. She begged me to talk. I told her I already knew everything. I told her Jenna had filled in the gaps she tried to lie through. Sarah broke down crying right there in the hallway. Said she never meant for things to go this far. That she wanted to fix things. That she still loved me. And here's where things got even messier. Later that night, I got another call from Jenna. She said Andrew had been following her, showing up outside her work, her apartment. He was losing it. Apparently, he thought Sarah left him because Jenna and I were now together, which we absolutely weren't, but he didn't believe it. Then, 2 days after that, I woke up to find a note taped to my door. It said, "You took everything from me. Now it's your turn. No signature. Just that. I don't know what's coming next. But I've got a bad feeling. I reported the note to the police right away. They took it seriously, thankfully. An officer came out, took photos, dusted for prints, standard stuff. But he was honest with me. Said unless something actually happened, there wasn't much they could do yet. Just to keep my doors locked, watch my back, and call if anything else seemed off. I started sleeping with a bat by the bed. Installed a cheap security camera above the door. Max, who normally sleeps curled up at my feet, started barking at every little sound. I was on edge constantly. I'd never dealt with anything like this before. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating much, and I started missing work. About 3 nights after the note, I woke up around 2 a.m. to Max growling low at the front door. Not barking, growling. I got up, heart racing, and peeked out the peephole. No one was there. But when I opened the door, just to be sure, I found something else. A small box. No label. Just sitting on the welcome mat. I probably should have called the cops again before opening it, but I was running on pure nerves and adrenaline at that point. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. Old school style. It was a picture of Sarah, inside my apartment, taken from what looked like behind my living room curtains. She was sitting on the couch, back when we were still together, wearing one of my hoodies, laughing at something on TV. But I hadn't taken that picture, and I sure as hell hadn't invited anyone over to do it. That's when it clicked. Someone had been in the apartment before. Maybe more than once. Watching us. Watching her. I called Sarah immediately, even though I didn't want to. Told her she needed to tell me everything she knew about Andrew. She got quiet. Then finally said something that made my blood run cold. He used to break into his ex-girlfriend's place, she said. Before me. I didn't believe it when she told me. I thought she was being dramatic. So now I was dealing with a possibly unstable guy who had a history of stalking and was clearly obsessed with Sarah, and maybe now obsessed with the idea that I was stealing her back. Except I didn't even want her back. I told her she needed to go to the police, too. She promised she would. Next day, I get a knock at my door. Not the cops. Not Sarah. It was Jenna. She looked spooked. Told me she hadn't been able to reach Andrew for over 24 hours. His phone was off, he hadn't shown up to work, and no one knew where he was. Then she handed me a manila envelope. Said she found it wedged between her screen door and the frame that morning. Inside were printed screenshots of texts between Sarah and Andrew. Dozens of them. They were from early on, when they first started talking. Before they got physical. A few of them caught my eye. In one, Sarah said, I just want him to feel what I feel. Like maybe if he gets hurt, he'll stop ignoring me. Another one said, he doesn't deserve me. I need someone who pays attention. Someone dangerous, even. Someone who makes me feel alive. I read them over and over. It felt like I was reading words written by a stranger. Someone I never really knew. Jenna looked at me and said, she didn't just cheat on you. She fed him a version of you that made him hate you. She built a fantasy for him, and now he's chasing it. We both sat in silence for a while. Then she said the thing I hadn't wanted to admit. He's not just after you. He's after what she told him you are. Now I'm stuck in a nightmare I never asked to be in. I have no idea where Andrew is. I don't know what he's planning. Sarah's texts made me sound like a monster. And if Andrew believed every word, I might be in real danger. And the scariest part? I'm starting to think Sarah wanted all of this to happen. Jenna and I didn't say much after that. She left the envelope with me and went home. I just sat there at my kitchen table, turning those printed texts over in my hands, trying to reconcile the person who wrote them with the woman I had once planned to marry. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept the lights on and the bat next to me. Max stayed at the foot of the bed, ears perked at every creak. Around 3:15 a.m., the motion detector from my cheap security cam pinged my phone. I opened the app. Someone was at my door. I stared at the grainy black and white footage. It was Andrew. He didn't knock. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, staring directly into the camera. Then he pulled out something from his pocket and taped it to the door. I didn't open it right away. I called the police first. They arrived in under 10 minutes, but by then Andrew was long gone. They checked the area, filed another report, and left. Once they were gone, I finally opened the door. The paper was just one line. She lies to everyone. Now you see. The next morning, I texted Sarah and told her to meet me at Grant Park. Public place. Daylight. Cameras. I told her I had questions, and I wanted the truth. This time, all of it. She agreed. We met near the big fountain, the one that shoots water into the sky. She looked tired. Worn down. She sat on the bench like someone preparing for surgery. I saw the texts, I said. Her face dropped, but she didn't look surprised. I asked her point blank. Did you make all that stuff up? About me ignoring you? Being cold? Unloving? Was that all a game? She looked at the ground. I was angry, she whispered. I felt invisible. You were always working, always distracted. That's not an excuse, I said. That's a conversation. Not a reason to start lying to someone and turning them into a weapon. She started crying. People walking by gave us quick glances, then looked away. One older lady nearby paused long enough to catch a few words. She didn't say anything, just kept walking her dog. I didn't mean for it to get this far, Sarah said. Then why didn't you stop it? I asked. When he started following Jenna. When he started showing up at my door. Sarah covered her mouth. She looked sick. He told me he wanted to hurt you. I thought he was just angry. You thought? Sarah, you fed his obsession. You gave him a story where I was the villain and he was the savior. You didn't just cheat. You created chaos and watched it burn. I stood up. I didn't even want to look at her anymore. But then I turned around and said the one thing I had been holding back. Did you want him to come after me? She didn't answer right away. Then, barely audible, she said, part of me wanted you to feel it. To feel what I felt. There it was. The truth. Raw, ugly, selfish truth. She wanted revenge. Not justice. Revenge. I walked away. The next few weeks were a blur. Andrew was eventually found, sleeping in his car outside a Motel 6 in Indiana. The police took him in. Jenna filed for a restraining order. I did too. Sarah stopped reaching out after that. People talk about heartbreak like it's one sharp moment, one big crack. But that's not what it was for me. It was a long, slow tear. It started when she lied. It deepened when I saw her with him. And it shattered fully when I realized she was okay with me getting hurt, as long as she felt seen. Jenna and I kept in touch for a bit. We shared updates on legal stuff, talked a few times about how messed up it all got. She said something that stuck with me. Some people don't know how to ask for help. So they create disaster and call it attention. I've started going to therapy, trying to rebuild my life. I still live in the same apartment, though I swapped the locks and upgraded the security system. Max is doing better too. Less barking now. The truth is, I don't know what I'm looking for yet. Peace, maybe. Stability. I don't think I'll trust someone again for a while. But I'm not broken. Just changed. Sarah? I haven't seen her since that day at the park. Last I heard, she moved back in with her sister out in Oak Lawn. Do I wish I never met her? Some days, yeah. Other days, I think about who I used to be before all this, and I realize I needed to learn what I was willing to accept and what I wasn't. This whole thing taught me one hard lesson. Loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. The relationship ends. The protagonist walks away from the wreckage, scarred but self-aware. He isn't sure what the future holds, but he knows what he won't tolerate ever again. And that's enough for now.